Russians' nightmare ultra-quiet stealth submarines could unleash a nuclear holocaust upon America in just a minute. Russian submarines, known from their advanced stealth capabilities, Michael Snyder reports, the Russians currently have 64 subs that are operational, and many of them have been equipped with ultra-quiet features that make them incredibly difficult to detect. When we think of nuclear war, we tend to think of missiles that are fired from thousands of miles away, but the Russians could simply move a couple dozen ultra-quiet subs right along our coastlines and conduct a sneak attack from point-blank range. Major cities on both coasts, including Washington, D.C., would be destroyed almost instantly. Other major targets deep inside continental United States would be wiped out within just a few minutes. If Russian subs simultaneously launch hundreds of nuclear missiles at us from point-blank range in the middle of the night, there would not be much that we could do. The White House would be destroyed before they could even get the president out of bed. I asked Google AI about the stealth capabilities of Russian submarines, and I was told that they are considered to be a nightmare. Russian submarines, particularly the Yasin class and Bore class, are known for their stealth capabilities, making them difficult to detect and track, and some are even considered nightmare for Western military observers. Yasin class subs are particularly stealthy, and according to Google AI, they are designed to launch cruise missiles that can carry nuclear warheads. Yasin class submarines can carry nuclear warheads as they are designed to be nuclear powered cruise missile submarines capable of launching missiles with their nuclear warheads. Bore class subs possess even more firepower. Each Bore class sub carries up to 16 ballistic missiles, and each one of those missiles can carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. The Russian Navy possesses 8 Project 955A Bore class SSBNs, 5 of which are the improved Bore A Project 955A variant. These submarines are 170 meters long and can travel up to 29 knots when submerged. Each vessel can carry 16 Bulava SLBMs, each of which contain multiple MIRVs. Featuring pump jet propulsion and other acoustic improvements, the Bore class submarines are considerably stealthier than their Soviet-era predecessors. The Russians have the ability to pull off a nuclear sneak attack against any country at any time, and so it would be in our interest to make peace with them. On Wednesday, President Trump threatened to do very bad things, quote-unquote, to Russia financially if they do not agree to the 30-day ceasefire that he's proposing. Donald Trump has warned Putin he's ready to do very bad things to Russia financially if he does not accept a ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. The U.S. president told reporters in Washington, there are things that would not be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do these things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do it because I want to get peace. In a financial sense, yes, we could do these. That would be very bad for Russia. That would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that. Publicly threatening Russia is not going to help, and it's been the potential to backfire severely. So hopefully President Trump and his team will choose to take a more diplomatic approach. Less than 24 hours after Ukraine agreed to the 30-day ceasefire that the Trump administration is proposing, the Russians pummeled Ukraine with a series of drones. Russia staged blistering strikes against Ukraine. The massive missile drone attacks cast doubt on Putin's willingness to accept Trump's demand for peace in the 3-year conflict. And Russian forces continue to make gains. And in fact, it was reported that they successfully took over the town of Sudza. The Ukrainians are being routed, and earlier today, Ukrainian President Zelensky boldly declared that his government will never recognize any occupied territories as Russia's. On Wednesday, President Zelensky shut the door on territorial concessions awkwardly at a moment Ukraine has just agreed to Trump's and U.S. plans for a 30-day ceasefire intended to pave the way for extended peace negotiations. An initial statement from the Kremlin said that Putin likely to eventually agree to truce, but with own terms as Moscow studies the Trump-sponsored proposal hammered out during the Tuesday Jeddah talks. So we're fighting for our independence, therefore we will not recognize any occupied territories as Russia's. This is a fact, Zelensky said in his fresh comments. Our people have fought, and how many injured? No one will forget. So this is the most important red line, he said. But Russia's red line in any near future negotiations will be to demand recognition of the Russian Federation's sovereign control over the four eastern territories of Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia regions, which Putin has previously referred to as our citizens forever, quote unquote. So how is it going to be possible to bridge this gap? I have no idea. And in the end, I just don't see how a permanent peace deal will help. If both sides could at least agree to a temporary ceasefire, that would give us some breathing room to talk. So much is riding on these negotiations. If they ultimately fail, both sides are likely to escalate matters even more in the attempt to gain leverage. Could that potentially include Western troops on the ground in Ukraine? CBS News is reporting that hundreds of American volunteers are already there. It's believed that hundreds of American volunteers, many of them U.S. veterans, have signed up to serve with Ukraine's army. And for some of them, the U.S. administration's recent actions and rhetoric, particularly remarks by Trump that echoed Kremlin talking points, suggested that war in Kiev is Kiev's fault and that Zelensky is an illegitimate leader, have not sat well. So we are at a crossroads. We either make peace with the Russians or we go down that road that leads to the unthinkable. Which will we choose? If the Russians ultimately determine that nuclear conflict is inevitable, they will strike first and there will be no warning. This is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder and about the author. Michael Snyder's new book entitled Why is available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 8 other books that are available on Amazon, including Chaos, End Times, 70-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he's always freely and happily allowed others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.